covers and, rising, shuffled groggily to the window to open the blinds. Eyes adjusting to the light, I saw a seemingly endless stream of blue and white clad cadets marching slowly, somberly, one after the other, into the cemetery across the street from my house. It looked like an invasion, but the stoic faces gave it away. I knew immediately what this must be. A few days earlier, on the evening of April 16, 2007, Chris Hutto, a home group leader in the church I co-pastor at Virginia Tech, clung anxiously to a cell phone, waiting for word, for good news about his friend Matt Laporte. All anyone knew was that 33 students and faculty were dead and an undetermined number of others injured in the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history. Something was certainly wrong with Matt. He would have called by now. But perhaps he was only injured. Chris nervously fiddled and fumbled and held to the phone for good news that would never come. Matthew Joseph Laporte, just 20 years old, was gone. The first days following the shootings were a blur. I got up early and stayed up late, talking with students, answering reporters' questions, and helping in whatever little ways I could. The days were exhaustingly long. I finally found a few minutes one afternoon to rest and lay down for a quick nap. I was out immediately. Only minutes later came the rumble and thud of that solemn drumbeat, dragging me back to the wakened world I wanted so badly to escape. I cannot even hide from this in sleep. I was clinging, holding on, like Chris to his cell phone, to the dream that maybe life wasn't all that bad. But as I stood at the window, waking up, peering through the blinds and watching the mournful march, a heavy, sinking sadness set in. I thought of Matt Laporte the previous Monday, dressed in his Corps uniform, on his way to class in Norris Hall. Was he running late? Did he hurry to get there? Absolutely unaware. Unaware that he was breathing in his last crisp mountain air, feeling a final blast of Blacksburg wind, watching snowflakes flitter and fall out of season, the last of a lingering winter, and the last of Matt's short life. I watched from the window as long as I could. The entire Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets, some 700 strong, marched into the cemetery, up over a hill, and out of sight to say goodbye to Matt. I was still waking up. It was not the Virginia Tech shootings alone that set me on my journey this summer. I received a call late one night, nearly a month afterward. The caller ID on my cell phone read, "Mom and Dad." I knew instantly that something was wrong. They were usually in bed by 10 o'clock, and it was almost midnight. I answered the phone, and a shaken voice answered back, "Matt, it's Mom." My face flushed, and my heart began racing as I waited to hear what had happened. "I'm at the hospital with your dad. He fell off the roof cleaning gutters tonight." Interrupting herself and sounding as if she were trying to convince herself more than me, Mom interjected, "He's okay, though. He has a broken arm and his face is pretty banged up. His jaw is broken, but he's awake." "Are you okay?" I asked. There was a long pause and then a wavering response. "Yes," Mom said, obviously crying. "I'm fine. I didn't want to call, but your dad keeps saying he wants you to come home." I held back the fear of the what-if questions long enough to pack. What if he wasn't okay? What if he wasn't going to be okay? You can think about that in the car. I threw a few shirts and some jeans in a bag. How long will I be there? Do I need a suit? Am I going to a funeral? It's the waiting that is hard. Waiting to learn the fate of a loved one, like Chris had waited in vain for good news about his friend Matt. I waited for 3 hours on the drive down to North Carolina, wondering whether Mom had been totally truthful about Dad's condition. Dad had fallen off the roof that evening at 7, but no one had called until midnight. Had things taken a turn for the worse? Why was Dad asking for me to come? The situation was more or less as Mom had described when I arrived at the hospital in Charlotte. Dad was awake and talking, though mostly nonsensically due to heavy medication and the trauma of the impact. He had landed face first on the wooden deck behind the house, bracing himself only slightly with his left arm, now broken in several spots. His head on one side was swollen to what seemed twice its size, and a steady trickle of blood ran from his right ear, staining the starchy white pillow beneath. The sight sickened me. I am not usually bothered by blood or needles or hospitals.